The Kensington estate stood like a palace at the edge of the city, vast gardens, marble fountains, and walls high enough to keep secrets buried. Inside lived Eleanor Kensington, the only daughter of billionaire Richard Kensington, a man whose wealth could buy anything but peace.
Ow.
Eleanor had been blind since birth, or so the world believed. She moved through the halls with grace, her cane tapping rhythmically against the floor. Despite her father's fortune, she lived in a lonely world of silence and shadows. Her mother had passed away years ago, and her father, consumed by business, rarely visited. The staff adored Eleanor, but pity hung in their eyes every time they saw her. When the family announced they were hiring a new maid, no one thought much of it. But that new maid would soon uncover something that would shatter the Kensington legacy forever. Lila Carter, a 23-year-old woman from a small town, arrived at the mansion with little more than a suitcase and a heart full of determination. She needed the job badly. Her mother was ill, and the pay at the Kensington estate was more than generous. Her first day was intimidating. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Boyd, gave her a stern warning. "You will clean Miss Eleanor's room, serve her meals, and follow her instructions exactly. She's kind, but fragile. Don't upset her." Lila nodded and did as she was told. But when she first met Eleanor, she was struck by how calm and poised the young woman was. Her eyes, though unfocused, were a stunning shade of blue. She smiled warmly. "Hello, Lila," Eleanor said softly. "I can tell by your steps that you're new here. Don't worry, I don't bite." Lila laughed nervously. "I'm just here to help, Miss Eleanor." From that moment, something unspoken passed between them, a bond that would soon be tested by lies buried deep within the mansion. Over the next few days, Lila began noticing small, strange things about Eleanor. Despite being blind, she seemed to move around the room with uncanny precision. She never bumped into furniture, never dropped anything, and once even caught a teacup before it fell off the table. At first, Lila brushed it off. Maybe Eleanor just had sharp instincts. But then came the moment that made her question everything. One afternoon, while dusting near the window, Lila accidentally dropped a vase. It didn't shatter, but before she could pick it up, Eleanor turned sharply toward her and said, "Be careful, Lila. That almost broke." Lila froze. The sound had been soft, barely noticeable. How did Eleanor know what had happened? "Did you hear that?" Lila asked cautiously. Eleanor smiled faintly. "I just sensed it. You'd be surprised what you can feel when you lose one sense." Still, Lila couldn't shake the unease building inside her. A week later, Lila was cleaning the West Wing when she found a door she hadn't noticed before. Small, elegant, and locked with an old brass keyhole. It was strange because Mrs. Boyd had never mentioned it, and the key wasn't on any of the maid's rings. As she bent to dust the handle, she heard footsteps. Mrs. Boyd appeared, her expression tight. "That room is off limits," she said sharply. "I was just don't touch it." Lila nodded, startled by the sudden anger in the woman's tone. But her curiosity was now on fire. That night, as she passed the hall again, she thought she heard faint music coming from behind the door, a soft piano melody. She froze. Eleanor played piano every evening, but from her own room. So who was playing in there? The next morning, Lila served Eleanor breakfast. She couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer. "Miss Eleanor," she began, "do you ever go to the West Wing?" Eleanor's spoon stopped midair. "Why do you ask?" "Oh, I just thought I heard music coming from there last night." Eleanor's face went pale. "You must be mistaken. No one goes there ever." Lila tried to laugh it off, but the tension in Eleanor's voice was unmistakable. Later that day, while helping Eleanor choose a dress, Lila noticed something even stranger. Eleanor picked the exact color that matched her shoes. "How do you know which one this is?" Lila asked softly. Eleanor hesitated. "I can't explain it. Sometimes I just—" Lila's heart pounded. It was becoming clear Eleanor wasn't completely blind. Or maybe not blind at all. A violent storm rolled in that night, shaking the windows and cutting the power. The mansion was plunged into darkness. Lila grabbed a flashlight and hurried upstairs to check on Eleanor. When she opened the door, she froze. Eleanor was standing by the window, gazing directly at the lightning splitting across the sky. Her eyes tracked every flash, every movement. "Eleanor," Lila whispered. Eleanor turned, startled. "Lila, I was just listening to the thunder. But Leela saw the truth written all over her face. "You can see it, can't you?" she whispered. "You can see the lightning." Eleanor's lips trembled. "Please don't tell anyone." "Tell anyone what?" Lila demanded. "That you've been pretending to be blind." Eleanor began to cry. "It's not what you think. Please, let me explain." But before she could, a loud crash echoed down the hallway. Someone else had been listening. The next morning, Lila found herself summoned by Mr. Kensington himself, a tall, stern man whose presence filled the room like cold air. He studied her silently before speaking. "I hear you've been asking questions, Miss Carter." Lila hesitated. "Sir, I didn't mean any harm. Just let me make something clear," he interrupted. "My daughter has been through enough. If you value your position here, you will stay out of matters that do not concern you." She nodded, but inside her resolve hardened. Something was terribly wrong here. That night, Eleanor came to her room in tears. "I have to tell someone," she whispered. "I can't live with this lie anymore." She sat down, trembling. "I wasn't born blind, Lila. My mother made everyone believe I was." Lila gasped. "Why would she do that?" "Because she wanted to protect me," Eleanor said. From my father, Eleanor's voice shook as she told the story. Years ago, her parents' marriage had been on the brink of collapse. Her mother, Margaret, had discovered that Richard Kensington was involved in illegal business deals, laundering money through charities and offshore accounts. When she confronted him, he threatened her, saying she'd never see their daughter again. So Margaret made a desperate move. She spread the story that Eleanor was blind, making her seem weak and dependent. She thought if Richard believed his daughter couldn't ever expose his crimes, he'd leave her alone. But Margaret's plan backfired. Shortly after, she died mysteriously, a supposed accident in her car. Since then, Eleanor had kept the act alive out of fear. She was terrified that if her father knew she could see, he'd realize she remembered everything from that night, including seeing him arguing with her mother hours before she died. Lila sat in stunned silence. "So your blindness, it's the only thing keeping you safe?" Eleanor nodded. "Until now," he's starting to suspect. Days later, Lila overheard a heated argument in the study. Mr. Kensington's voice thundered through the door. "She's been acting strange lately, looking right at me." That maid must have told her something. Mrs. Boyd's nervous voice followed. "Sir, I'll handle it. The maid won't be a problem." Lila's blood ran cold. She ran to Eleanor's room. "We have to leave," she whispered urgently. "He knows." But before they could escape, Mr. Kensington appeared at the door. His eyes were wild, his voice venomous. "Going somewhere?" Eleanor stepped forward, trembling but defiant. "It's over, Father. I know what you did to Mother." He froze. "You don't know anything." "I saw you," she said quietly. "That night, you were fighting with her before the crash." His face twisted with rage. "You were supposed to be blind?" "I was," she said, "until I opened my eyes to who you really are." He lunged forward, grabbing her arm, but Lila stepped between them. "Don't you touch her." In that instant, sirens wailed outside. The police burst in. Mr. Kensington was arrested on the spot, not just for the assault, but for the crimes Margaret had tried to expose. Lila had secretly contacted the authorities days earlier, sending them documents she'd found behind the locked door, Margaret's hidden records, proving everything. Months passed. Kensington Empire crumbled, but Eleanor was finally free. With her father in prison, she inherited her mother's trust and began turning the mansion into something new, a foundation for the visually impaired.
Dedicated in her mother's name. Lila.
Lila stayed by her side, no longer a maid, but a trusted friend and partner in the mission. On the morning of the opening ceremony, Eleanor stood before the gathered crowd. The sun shone bright, and for the first time, she didn't hide behind dark glasses. Her eyes gleamed with courage. "I lived in darkness for years, not because I couldn't see, but because I was too afraid to look at the truth," she said. "Today I choose light." The crowd erupted in applause. Lila smiled from the sidelines, tears in her eyes. As the two women embraced, Eleanor whispered, "You didn't just help me see the world again. Lila, you helped me find my strength." And for the first time in her life, Eleanor felt truly free, no longer the blind daughter of a billionaire, but a woman who could finally see everything that mattered.